Hi friends, today we'll be making a fun project that'll only take a couple of hours to make. It's a Valentine gift, which is a knitted tub cozy. And all you need is a pencil tub from even the dollar store, and you can knit up this quick project to make it look like this. So let's get started. Here are the things that you will need. I'm using 50 grams of the worsted weight yarn in the red heart today. You can use any yarn you like. And two sets of needles, US number 7s and number 5s.
Okay, so row 1 through 4, we're going to do a knit 2, purl 2, rib. And for the first few stitches, I'm going to use both the yarn, just to, maybe the first two. So start with your knit 2, and then drop my tail and use only the working yarn and my purl 2. So continue with that, knit 2, purl 2, all the way to the end for the next for rows 1 through 4. Okay, so I ended with knit 2 on row 1. So now when I, just to make this clear in case you're not too sure, is when I start my row 2, because I had knit stitches there, it's purl on this side, so I'm going to start with purl 2. And so it's going to be purl 2, knit 2 for this row, and then it'll go back to knit 2, purl 2 on the next row, and vice versa. Okay, so sorry, purl 1, purl 2, knit 1, knit 2, oops, it's not, there we go, purl 1, purl 2. Okay, so let's keep going. Okay, so when you get to the end of your row 2, you will come across those stitches where you doubled up the yarn with both the tail and the working yarn. And for those, I've already knit one, but for the last one, just remember to take both of them together and in this case purl them or knit them, whatever the case may be, but you should end up with purl stitches, so purl them together. Okay, and so now on to row 3 and row 4, the same thing. Okay, I'm on my last stitches, row 4, ending with purl 1 and purl 2. So now before we go on to row 5, you should have, just to look at it, should have a nice neat ribbing pattern. You can see the knit and the purl, and it's kind of cute. It's nice. So anyways, the first thing you have to do before you go on to row 5 is switch your needles from the number 5s to the number 7, which is the 4.0 millimeters. Okay? See you at row 5. So we're at row 5, and we're going to knit 18. One, two, three, 4, 5, 18. Okay, it's quite important because of the pattern. You need to keep count of your stitches. So knit 18, and then we're going to do knit 2 together. And what that is you take the first 2 stitches on your left hand needle and you're going to knit them together. So this might be a little tricky, especially because one of them was a purl stitch on the row before. So get them both in the needle and you're going to knit it as usual. And you'll end up only with one stitch, and what you've done is a decrease. So you've decreased a stitch, and that is your knit 2 together. And then you're going to do a yarn over which is basically bring the yarn all the way around the needle and let it sit there ready for the next stitch. So that's the yarn over. And now you're going to knit 18. So for your first knit, you're going to just knit it as usual. That's 1, 17, and 18. Okay, that's your row 5. Now just to go back, I want to show you what that yarn over looks like. Here are your knit 2 together stitches, and this is where, oops, if you can see that, this is your knit 2 together. You see that these two have been decreased into the 1 stitch, and this here, this loop here, is your yarn over. Okay, so that's what it is. And now we're just going to, what we've done is we've decreased a stitch, and therefore we've used the yarn over to add on a stitch. And you'll see this gaping hole here. Don't worry about it, that's just part of the pattern, and what it creates is like an eyelet effect, so it'll look nice at the end. So now let's go on to row 6, and every wrong side row, and how you would know it's the wrong side row is you'd see all these bumps of purls going across on the row that you'd previously done. Every wrong side row would be a purl row, so all you have to do is purl all the way through. Okay, so start with the first one. Okay, there, and purl all the way through. Okay, so now when you get to the yarn over, it looks like you've lost a stitch and there's this big gaping hole, but don't worry about it, just ignore that, and you can purl it just like you would. So there you go. Okay, and keep continuing with the stitches all the way to the end. You're going to purl. Okay, so now we're on row 7, and let's start with knit 17. So 1, 2, 3, 15, 16, and 17. Then we're going to do knit 2 together. Oops. There we go. Okay, so there, knit 2 together, both stitches there, yarn over, knit 1, that was my previous yarn over. Okay, then yarn over again, and we're going to do SSK, which is slip, slip, knit. And the way to do this is you slip knitwise as if you're going to make a knit stitch, but then slip it off. You slip purlwise, which is as if you're going to do a purl stitch, and then slip it off. So you have 2 slipped stitches on both needles, I'm sorry, on your right hand needle, 2 slip stitches, and now you're going to knit them together. So go with your left hand needle, the front of the stitches, and you're going to knit it. Oops. There. And that is a slip slip knit, which is basically a left leaning decrease. So there are 2 stitches have been decreased to 1. It's a left leaning decrease. Here we did the 2, knit 2 together, and that is your right leaning decrease. So it makes for a pattern. And now we're going to knit 16. So continue on and knit 16. So 1, 2, 3, 14, 15, and 16. Okay, so we have completed row 7, and now let's go on to row 8, an even number row. So we're going to knit, purl all the way through on row 8. I'll get back to you at the end of row 8. Okay, so I finished row 8, and now on to row 9. Row 9, we're going to knit 16. 1, 2, 3, 14, 15, and 16. Then knit 2 together. So again, there, take the 2 together, knit 2 together. Gonna do a yarn over, knit 3. So 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to yarn over again, and we're going to do slip slip knit. So slip knitwise, purlwise, and then together, knit it. Okay, and knit 15. So 1, 2, 3, 12, 13, 14, and 15. We've completed row 9. Row 10, as usual, purl all the way through. So, last purl. There we go. So now we're on row 11, and we're going to knit 15. 1, 14, and 15. And then we're going to knit 2 together. Yarn over, knit 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then yarn over again, and then we're going to do slip slip knit. So slip slip, knit them together, knit 14. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 13, and 14. That's the end of row 11. And now row 12, purl as usual all the way through. 1, 2, 3. And my last purl on row 12, and there. So now we're on to row 13, and the pattern is coming along nicely. If you can have a look at it, you can start to see the shape there, the bottom of the heart. Okay, so let's go. Row 13, we're going to knit 14. So 1, 2, 3, 13, and 14. Knit 2 together, yarn over, and then knit 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yarn over, okay, slip, slip, knit, slip, slip, knit, and knit 13. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11. The sun decided to come out. 12 and 13. Now we've ended row 13, and row 14 we're going to purl all the way through, and I'll meet you at the beginning of row 15. Okay, last stitch on row 14. There we go. Okay, row 15. You might have started to get the hang of the pattern so far. So now we're going to, on row 15, we're going to knit 13. So 1, 2, 3. 13. We're going to knit 2 together as usual. Okay, yarn over, knit 3. So 1, it's a little different from what we did before. So 2 and 3. Now we're going to knit 2 together again. So knit 2 together, yarn over, and knit 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now yarn over, and slip, slip, knit. So slip, slip, and knit SSK and knit 12. 1, 2, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so just to recap over that row that we've just done, row 15, is we've created knit 2 together in between, and we've knitted 3 on one side and 4 on the other with a yarn over in between. And so basically what this yarn over does is now it's creating the pattern with the bottom of the V from the top of the heart. So it's going to come out this way and go down. Okay, so that's what that yarn over is. So this is what it should look like. Okay, all right, so now on to row 16, purl all the way through, and I'll meet you at row 17. Okay, end of row 16, my last purl, and row 17. So let's go. Row 17, we're going to knit 14. Always get the circular needles tangled up with my yarn. Okay, there we go. Row 17, we're going to knit 14. So 1, 2, 3, okay, so 13, 14, and then we're going to yarn over, slip, slip, knit, so slip, knit. So we're doing a left leaning, decrease, then knit 1, then knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, slip, slip, knit, SSK, slip, slip, knit, knit 1, knit 2 together, yarn over, and knit 13. One, 2, 3, 12, and 13. That's the end of row 17. So let's purl all the way on row 18. I'll meet you at the end of row 18. Okay, so we're at the end of row 18. Purl stitches. My last stitches always tend to jump off. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so row 19, it's going to be a little different also. So start with knit 15. 1, 2, 13, 14, and 15. Okay, then I do my yarn over, and now we're going to do S2KP. And what that is slip 2 stitches. So you can slip them knitwise. And then you're going to knit 1. So knit 1. You have your yarn over on the bottom of the 2 stitches. So knit 1. And then pass the 2 slip stitches, that would be these 2, over the knitted stitch. It can be a little tricky, so take your time and do this. Okay.
Okay, so let's watch that again. F2KP, you're slipping 2 stitches together. I do it one at a time just to show. Then you knit 1, and then you take the 2 slip stitches that you knitted and you pass it over the knitted stitch. Take your time with this, and it helps to pull the yarn tight, the working yarn tight, to get the stitches over the knitted stitch. And now let's go back to the work.
This, oops, I left a part of the yarn there. Okay, so there we go. This left leaning decrease, its 2 stitches have been decreased, actually 3 has been decreased to 1, is called the S2KP. So then we're going to do a yarn over and knit 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and then yarn over again. And now we're going to do the reverse of the stitch we did, and that is the SK2P, which is slip 1, you can slip it knitwise, knit 2 together, okay, just make sure when you're getting them, you get the yarn properly, then you knit those 2 together, okay, and pass the slip stitch, which is this stitch here, over the knit 2 together, so over the one you did after.
Okay, watching that in slow motion again. SK2P, slip 1 stitch, and then knit the next 2 together. This one is actually easier than the first, I think. So just knit it like you would usually, then knit 2 together. Sorry for the angle, you can't quite see, my work's in the way. But yeah, knit the stitch. And then go back to the slip stitch, and you're just going to pull it over the knitted stitches. Pick that up and holding the working yarn tight, just pull it through and over. So now let's go back to the work and continue.
Um, it's actually like a centered lean. It doesn't lean either way because you're going to do a yarn over before it and after it, and it centers the stitch, okay? So, oh, sorry. And then so you do your yarn over and you're going to knit 14. So 1, 2, 3, 12, 13, and 14. Great. So now that we've finished our heart pattern, we're going to go back to the ribbing, and we're going to copy that on the top as well. So now on row 20, we are going to do our knit to, purl to, ribbing all the way to the end. So starting with knit, 1, 2, and purl. Take your yarn to the back. Oh, I said that as okay. I meant purl to, and now knit to. So knit, and bring it back to the front, purl, okay. So I'm going to continue with this pattern. This is row 20 I'm on, and I would do the ribbing pattern for 4 rows in total. So it's 20 all the way to row 23. So I'll meet you at the end of row 23 with the rib pattern, okay? Okay, the end of row 23. Here's my purl, knit, and knit. Okay. This is such a quick pattern to knit up. Seriously, like within a couple of hours, right? Like you can get it done, and it's very sweet. It's a very cute pattern. Okay, so now we're done the pattern. You should have your ribbing on the top and on the bottom. And now we're going to cast off. So we'll just use the regular cast off method where you knit 1, knit a second, and then take the bottom one over the top. So you slip the bottom over the top and continue. And if you want to see a more detailed video on casting off, you can watch my previous video on binding off or casting off. And there's my cast off edge, and I'm going to continue doing that all the way to the end. Okay, so I'll meet you at the end. Okay, so I've come to my last stitch, and as usual, after I loop it through, and then normally I would just pull a string that's 6 inches long or so and cut it out. But this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this yarn to sew up the edges together. So I'm going to take make the loop. I can't really keep this in frame, it's too big. But you want to take about 20 to 25 inches long. Okay, you may not need that much, but better more than less, I guess. So yeah, about that much, and then trim it out. Okay, and then the rest I can just pull out. Whoops, through there. That's okay. There, it makes a nice finish on the piece, and you're left with this tail. So now you take the wrong sides together. If I can do this far, so you can see that this is the wrong side and here's the right side. I'm going to take and fold with the right sides in and get both the edges together. Okay, and basically what I'm going to do is sew this up, and nothing fancy, just loop it through. Okay, so first let me thread my needle, tapestry needle, and there. and holding both the yarn together. You want to get a nice finish right at the edge where you ended. So what I do is if I can show that to you, if you can see that, is I loop it through there and then pull my yarn through and continue looping the yarn through like that. So if I can get the two V's, it doesn't have to go through all the loops, but something neat and nice, and I'm going to continue doing that all the way down. Okay, so let me continue. It's a little difficult doing it in front of the camera, but there. So my two V's. I'm going to continue. You can see there. And I will get a nice stitch going all the way down right to the end, and I'll get back to you. Okay, so one last thing I do want to point out when you're sewing, I've come all the way to the end, is it's quite important at both ends, the start end and the finish end, that you catch, and I've completed it here, and I meant to show you that, but I forgot until I did it, but is just to catch these two ends and make a very neat finish. Okay, so that's what I'm doing, the final stitch here. Oops, I almost lost my yarn. Is there. Okay, so that makes it a neat finish, and it's a neat transition between both sides. And now I can just do a slip stitch in here through one of the and make a knot to finish off. Okay, so pick up my loop, then that's my loop, and then go through the loop, oops, and pull a knot through. Okay, and that's it. So then I'll trim off my yarn, and I don't, the nice thing with this is you don't have to fuss around. This is my tail from the cast on. I'm going to trim that as well. And you don't even need to weave in the ends. Like, it's not such a big deal, but to show you that you can weave in the ends and it'll make it nice is just to use a crochet hook and just to pull it through. You just want the end, the cut ends away from the edges of the tube. Okay, if that makes sense. So I'm just taking it down, and the same with the long tail cast on end. So whoops, yeah, and this is the difficult part, is to catch the stitches. So just to take it away from the, and you don't want it all bunching up at the same spot, because then it kind of looks funny, but you don't need to take it through. Okay, I'm just going to leave it like that, and that's it. So now we just flip it right side out, and there it is. And all you have to do now is slip it over your pencil holder or whatever else you want to use. So let me show you.
There it is. So don't forget to stock it with lots of pens and whatever else you'd like. You could also use some hot chocolate tubs or other packaging similar to this and make lots of different colors. I've made a red one here, and it'll make a great gift for a teacher or even for a friend. So go ahead and have fun making it. This was a fun project, and if you enjoy watching more such projects, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.